Et nous sommes de retour pour poursuivre donc le programme de cet après-midi dans le cadre de cette
So
première journée
thank
de
you
l'Académie virtuelle de la Banque
to coming back.
européenne
And this is
d'investissement,
the
qui,
third
je le
panel.
rappelle, tourne autour du thème donc des PME et
And
du
we're talking
secteur
about
bancaire
the
notamment,
small and
et
medium
de
enterprises
la
and
nécessité de construire un cadre
the
de
framework
résilience pour les petites et moyennes
in
entreprises
which they're going
dans
to
la
be
région
working in the
Afrique de
various
l'Ouest et Afrique
regions,
centrale.
Africa
Alors,
West
on va à présent
and
passer à notre prochain panel, à notre
Central.
prochaine session qui, cette
So
fois-ci, va
we're
traiter donc
looking
de
at the
la finance
financer
de
with
genre, donc la finance
a
qui
gender
implique
lens, experiences and
l'entrepreneuriat notamment au
achievements.
féminin. Alors
I
aujourd'hui, pour animer, pour modérer
wa-
cette session,
want to welcome
nous aurons donc Isabelle
Isabelle van
Grudenbeek,
Grudenbeek,
qui s'en occupe RP, je
who is
l'écorche.
head of Inclusive
Pardon
and
d'avoir
Financial
écorché
Services
votre nom.
Unit
Chef de
and
l'université Services financiers et publics, service
Advisory
conseil
Services
de la
and
Banque européenne
AIB in
d'investissement,
Luxembourg.
donc basée à Luxembourg. Alors, pour la présenter dans le détail, je vais vous
To,
préciser donc qu'au
I
sein
will
de
tell
la
you
Banque
that
européenne d'investissement,
within
Isabelle van Grunderbeek dirige actuellement
she
l'équipe qui gère
directs
les programmes d'assistance technique axés sur la
technical
sécurité
programs,
financière,
technical assistance
le
programs,
financement et l'inclusion financière au
so
sein de
financial
l'Union
inclusion
depuis
and
2008. Elle a travaillé successivement
actually
comme
she's worked
responsable de près dans les régions Afrique de l'Ouest et Maghreb et comme chef de la
in the
représentation
west of the
régionale de l'Afrique
Maghreb
pour l'Afrique de
and West
l'Ouest.
Africa.
Auparavant, elle a
And before
travaillé en
that,
tant
she
que
worked
spécialiste
also
des infrastructures pour la Banque africaine de développement, où elle a
for
notamment
the Africa Development
dirigé
Bank,
le lancement du programme pour le
and she
développement des
launched
infrastructures en Afrique, PIDA. Elle est
PEBA
titulaire d'un
program
master
in Africa.
Science of Engineering, si je ne me trompe pas,
So
au Central
she
Supélec et d'un
she
MBA
works with
de
Central
l'INSEP à
Sibelec
Lausanne. Je vais à
and
présent
Chaz
vous
LB
donner la
at
parole,
Lausanne. So I'm going
Isabelle, et
to
vous laisser à votre tour
invite
présenter
her
donc
to
les
talk to you, to talk about herself
différents
first
de l'Afrique.
and introduce the speakers.
Merci beaucoup. Présentation complète.
Thank you very
Bonjour
much.
à tous
Hello, everyone.
et merci d'être avec nous
Thank
aujourd'hui
you for
pour
being
cette
with us today
académie.
for this part of
Nous abordons maintenant,
for this academy.
comme l'a dit
We are going to talk
la
about
question de l'égalité
the
homme-femme et
question of
l'émancipation économique.
women's equality and
L'inclusion
emancipation,
financière des femmes
financial
est
inclusion
toujours inférieure
of women. It's always
à la moyenne et c'est un problème
it's a problem
d'abord qui nous tient à cœur, c'est un problème persistant.
which persists. It's a long-rooted
9 points
problem.
de pourcentage d'écart entre hommes et femmes, et c'est un chiffre qui
There
n'a
is
pas bougé
a
depuis
disparity
2000.
between men and women, and this is
Néanmoins,
been
ce n'est
we've
pas
been
une
working on
fatalité. Il y a des pays
working,
comme,
regulating
par
this
exemple,
since
l'Afrique
2011. It's not
où
guaranteed that
cet
this should carry
écart
on, and it's not
a
just
été
in
réduit et la
Southern
richesse
Africa.
financière des hommes et des femmes est équivalente.
And in some countries like
Donc,
South
on va
Africa,
parler
there
de
is an
ça
equivalence
aujourd'hui, partager des
between men and women.
expériences
We're going to
concrètes
talk
de
about
nos
concrete
partenaires,
experiences
sur
of our
ce qui peut être
partners
fait pour
on what can be done
améliorer
in
les
order
choses dans ce
to
domaine.
make things
On va
for
parler
women. We're going to talk
avec Joël Caballo
Joël
de Robank,
Cobayo,
qui est à
so
Kinshasa.
Roll Bank. She
Monsieur
works in
Mamadou
Kinshasa.
Cissé, qui est à
Monsieur Mamadou
Dakar,
Cissé,
de
who's a,
Baobab, et Monsieur
who was with
David
Baobab
Akesu,
Resources
de
in Senegal,
Ecobank
and David
qui est à
Asidou,
Accra.
risk manager from Ecobank in
Il est important
Ghana.
de comprendre que
We must understand
cette
that
question
this question of
l'émancipation économique des femmes n'est pas
financial
juste
emancipation
un
of women is
point
not
de
simply
plus sur notre agenda.
something extra to be added
En
to our
fait, le
agenda.
SICAP,
In
par
fact,
exemple, on a fait un point
the SICA
central
made this an
de
actual
son
central
travail,
point of its
et
work.
c'est un
And
point qui se retrouve
this is
dans
a
les
point which
différents
arises again in the various
courants de ce
currents
euh,
of our work.
Pourquoi? Parce que
Why is this?
l'émancipation
Because the
des
emancipation
femmes,
of
le fait de
women,
leur donner des choix économiques,
giving them
est un
economic
vecteur
choices,
d'amélioration
is
de la
a
vie
factor
de
of
tous. Par exemple, c'est
amelioration of the life of everyone.
quand on améliore le revenu des femmes,
So
ça a
women's
des
revenue
répercussions sur
has
la qualité
repercussions on the
nutritionnelle
quality
des repas pour toute la
of
famille.
nutrition in families.
Inversement, les possibilités
The other way
économiques
around, look,
pour les
the
femmes et
economic
aussi les
possibilities for women
possibilités
and
que se
also
donnent les femmes
the possibilities
résultent
given to
de
themselves
certains
by
codes
women
sociaux, pas seulement de choix
gives
technologiques,
them
de choix de produits financiers.
choices of
donc,
private
ces codes
sources of
sociaux
products, and not only that, but also these
Donc,
depend
c'est
on
vraiment
us
une
all.
question
So it's a
centrale et
question,
c'est ce qu'on
or
va
a
aborder.
central question, which we're going to talk about.
La BEI est particulièrement impliquée sur ce sujet.
So EIB is particularly implicated in this
stratégie
question.
dans
We
ce
have a
domaine
strategy
qui
in this
s'articule autour de
area,
3 axes.
which is
On appelle
based on 3
protection,
axes:
défendre les
So defending women's impact and reinforcing the impact on the women. So identifying the effects of all our operations on women and the equality between women and men. And of course the question of investment, which we really want to talk about today. Thanks to you, our partners have brought forward the necessary financing to make this in order to implement the strategy. We were the first multilateral bank to join into the Sixth Initiative, and within the European Investment Bank, we have instruments to measure before you reinforce it, but our actions for women and our engagement towards women, which is for 2 billion euros, using the criteria which we spoke about, which we have mobilized 1 billion euros, and we're going to try for 2 billion this year. So this is the topic we're going to set about. We're going to try and have a look at a video which illustrates our propositions, what we've said, and we will then have from our colleagues concrete experience and what they obtained from these. And we're going to look at this video now. So we're talking. What is the impact of the pandemic on your activity? We had lots of things to think about. We had 3 days, maybe a week. We're working for plants which we can collect in the forest, and we have to ask for permission to do this. So this is 3 days less of work. On the other hand, we've had new contracts with different companies who has allowed us to have the time to do our work collecting these forest products. Being a woman, so we have to do our work and look also after our household tasks. So participation of women in this sector is misunderstood. We have projects which integrate women and sustainability also. So with the climate change, it's important to work in this direction and to work in this sustainable way. Thank you for your attention. So we're going to have a discussion with the members of our panel. I'm going to first of all talk to Madame Joëlle Caballot, who's coming from Kinshasa. Joëlle Caballot has joined the bank in 2005, and she's a national manager for the head of women's enterprise segment for Royal Bank. Joëlle, would you like to tell about your experience for creating specifically design for women? So thank you, Isabelle. With the bank, we have set up a program in 2010 with a partnership with the SFA. We distrust, but we are looking after women who need money from our bank, we're looking into the amelioration of the improvement of access to financial services, so capacity in materials, and improving training and business background training. We are pitching all our activities, all our products towards women. So these products, this program is integrated to a program for women entrepreneurs, and therefore we are give them this support. In a nutshell, this is what we do. That's what we do in our program for bank. So you're analyzing financial services and support services. Could you say a bit more about what you've done so far? So for 11 years, we've had improvements in rather basic things. When I say basic, when I say women now who've changed their way of working, of talking, of presenting their projects physically. So how to go through the formalities, we taught them about this. They were a little bit skeptical, but they had difficulties approaching the financial services. These improvements in access of women to financing has touched also on the consumption of financial products. So talking about credits, so women could get very small credits, but they now dare now to go to larger entities, so mining companies, telecom companies, and also, yes, they can access the programs that we put together ourselves in Rawbank. We asked the clients if they could have work sessions about the products which they are launching in order to assess what are the needs of these women. And on the basis of this needs analysis, so we look into the offers made by these institutions and simplify them for. So you're allowing women to dare approach these companies. I think this is intimidating, is it not, to approach these large institutions? So these women are trying to make themselves slightly more accessible from this background. Okay, Mr. Mamadou Cissé, who's coming in Senegal from Baobab, who's the Director General, who's been the General Director for 4 years now, and from this year, who's been elected into a centralized. So maybe you have a view on this sector, an overview on this financial sector. So what's your particular experience in this domain with Baobab Senegal? So,
Baobab Senegal belongs to the Baobab Group, with the headquarters in Paris, with many subsidiaries in Africa, and the Senegal subsidiary was created in 2007. I'm absolutely delighted to share with you what is happening with Baobab. With us, we're talking about some group credit where it is exclusively applied for women. We launched that initiative because traditionally Baobab Senegal is pre-oriented for micro-entrepreneur with a strong presence in urban areas and in urban areas. To the favor of the strategy decided in 2015, we have decided to develop many initiatives. There was a strong will to get closer to the social evolution, and therefore we thought about some offers that would be rather focused on women and on the youth, which led us to create group credit from 2016-2017. Then afterwards, in order to strengthen the development and enrich our experience, we have bought an institution that's called Funest in 2018. This institution was pre-oriented towards the rural area, and it had a particular characteristic to have a group credit portfolio. How does that work? Well, our group credit product is targeted, and we work with some existing groups which are solidarity groups. And behind this solidarity, we think about the solidarity between mutual funds. So we do not create the groups. The groups exist already in the neighborhoods or in the villages. So in order to boost this, we have set up a commercial team dedicated to that end, and that particular team deals with the training of the groups to the financial and service products. We're talking about financial education of the members of the group from the very start, where we provide some financial training, which is very important in their journeys. So another element that is very important in that journey is the involvement of the members in the credit decisions. It's members who value the amount that we give to each one of the members. So this enables us, first of all, not to fragilize the harmony and the solidarity between members, and therefore there is a collegial aspect to the decision-making process. How do we organize the distribution of this product? Well, from the beginning of the initiative, we have wanted to offer a proximity service that would be accessible, and we wanted the product to be focused on the client, which is focused on their experience with the financial sector through the distribution of the product. And we had observed before launching it that women, oftentimes with babies on their back, can wait for a whole day in order to benefit from the services, and wanted to avoid all of this by using technology so that they would not have to travel and wait for these finances. So our product is aimed to facilitate everything for the client. The client doesn't have to come to us, so we go towards the client, and therefore we use technology to cover the branches, and our sales staff with our tablet and application can go to the client, and they can open the account securely, and the client can then sign just with their fingerprint. And then we have an agent that deals with the transactional part, and therefore the clients carry out all their transactions close by in a very simple and secure manner, because they use that fingerprint to identify themselves. And in order to finish, let's give you the results since we started. The results are quite interesting. We had more than 25,000 women clients. The risk is mastered thanks to the solidarity of the members and the involvement in the monitoring, and also we have a situation where we know that the pandemic could spread amongst the members, and we know if it has an impact on some activities, because we're talking about fragile activities, less resilient, which could succumb to the COVID effect. So therefore, we're waiting for the perspectives to improve, and to conclude, Isabelle, the financial inclusion of these categories of women entrepreneurs remains a strong priority for Baobab Senegal. Many thanks. Many thanks, Mr. Cissé. I note many interesting points in your intervention, and especially the fact that, and this is what I find very interesting, is that you have gone from, or rather, you have evolved towards the microfinance, group microfinancing, which was not your DNA to start with, and to go towards the rural areas, and in order to reach other more vulnerable groups, so you found other means, very differentiated means to reach them. And of course, you have allied to this the technological tools that you needed. And I hope that you have found an economic model also for costs that could therefore be adapted to the particular model. I would now like to go towards Mr. David Asidou from the EcoBank Group. Is the manager trade and value chain, so that he could share with us also his experience with a product that I think is called Elevate.
Good afternoon and good evening to all our listeners. I'm here to present EcoBank's bespoke product targeted at building capacity for women by providing them with both financial and non-financial services as a total package. And that's what makes Elevate different from other products. So we as a bank are not only focusing on providing financial help, but also building capacity. Because we recognize that, women spend about 90% of their incomes on their families and their communities. So once we impact women, we'll be impacting our communities at large. In this regard, EcoBank, all the way to the board level, has sanctioned the Elevate program, and under our commercial banking unit, which deals with financing for SMEs or MSMEs, we've allocated 10% of our budget, our loan budget, to specifically for Elevate. In the first year, this adds up to about $100 million. Okay. As I go along, I'll give you some updates on where we are. Now, what is Elevate and who qualifies for Elevate? Okay, there are 4 criteria to qualify for Elevate. The first one is that the business must have more than 50% ownership by women or a woman, or must have been founded by a woman. Okay, so that's the first criteria. The second way you can qualify for Elevate under leadership, what we call the leadership program, is that you must have a minimum of 20% shares, or you must have at least 20% representation of women on the board or in management, in senior management of the company or the business, basically. So that's the second way you can qualify for Elevate. The third way is by providing employment to at least 30% of your workforce. So 30% or more of your workforce must be women, and then you qualify for Elevate. So you'd realize that if it's a man and you're providing employment for women, you still qualify under Elevate. The fourth point is under consumption. And under it, what we say is that you can also qualify for Elevate if you are involved in the manufacturing or sale of women products. So people who sell women's shoes, dresses, jewelry, etc., perfumery, all qualify under Elevate, even if the business is owned by a man, because your products are targeted at women. So that's the broad spectrum of qualification criteria under Elevate. Quickly, what are the offerings under Elevate? Like I said, we provide both financial and non-financial services. Financial services straight up, our lending products are available to all our Elevate clients. We reduce the interest rate for our Elevate clients up to about 150 basis points in our various markets across Africa. We also reduce the collateral requirements for lending to Elevate clients. And we also leverage on our digital solutions. when it comes to our collection channels. So POS, quick response QR, or even relying on mobile money, which is prevalent across Africa. I want to make special mention of our non-financial services, where we have what we call the EcoBank MSME Academy. That is a faculty that has been specially set up to provide training and capacity building for women in partnership with various educational and technical institutions across Africa and even worldwide. We have also what we also call the EcoBank Emerald Club. It's supposed to be a club where women can network and also develop export channels or sales channels for their goods and services, and also create a mentorship program where more experienced women then mentor up and coming women who are now starting in their business. Okay. What's our journey so far? It's been a mixed bag. Today, as I speak to you, we have launched Elevate in 30 of our 33 countries across Africa. Elevate was launched officially in November 2020 at the group level, at the EcoBank group level. However, each country has had a specific launch. It's been spread over the past 10 months or so. Today, we have deposits over $120 million specifically under the Elevate program. We've granted loans of about $60 million. That's our loan book today under Elevate. And we've had over 8,000 unique onboards across our markets. There's been a few challenges, obviously, COVID being number one. Because of COVID, it's been a bit difficult to do, physical meetings. We've had to rely on virtual channels. And, once you go virtual, especially for the mass market segment, market women traders, some of them might not be tech savvy to join virtually. And then also you lose a bit of the, mentorship and, togetherness that physical presence gives you. So in summary, this is Elevate by EcoBank, and I'm looking forward to any questions, and we'll see how we can answer them as we go along. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, David.
Many thanks, David. Well, I would start, first of all, maybe with one question, once again, to you three, but I will first of all address it to Mrs. Joelle Caballo, and maybe if we can see the slide from Mrs. Caballo on the screen that we did not show earlier. Well, I think I would like to ask you, if I was a man, I would be quite jealous about all these mechanisms being set up and implemented in order to facilitate access to financing. Did you have that kind of reaction? And what are the difficulties have you encountered, maybe? Well, with women, we had some difficulties to start with regarding the perception of the program as we were implementing it. It was some women who approached us only to obtain some credit. So we needed to communicate with them and redo the communication to show the importance of monitoring and the importance to be trained, the importance to be part of a particular scheme, a particular model with the realities in the country where we have very few banks and the culture, the savings culture is not present, the banking culture does not really exist. Many enterprises and companies were not formalized. So it was quite difficult to get the message across that there is a whole scheme being set up. And yet, with time, we managed to we managed to spread that message, which is better understood, that together we will get stronger together, which means that the small and medium enterprises must bear in mind that we are by their side in order to support them in various aspects. We're talking about information, and therefore we're setting up some financial products, but also some non-financial products. And it's true that with the training that we had started implementing to start with and adapting them, some people started questioning themselves, and they understood the need, which was that this was required to get that need across, to follow some training courses, the need to network and to learn from others, to learn from other women's experiences. And therefore, this way, we managed to put them in the various work groups and various training groups that carry on to this day for most of them. And we have some women who have started to send us their children, their daughters, and even their spouses, which means that on the basis of that work that we have undertaken, we are now also opening some accounts for other companies on the basis of the recommendations promulgated by a particular woman who had started working with us, who had followed a particular path and has been with us for 5 or 10 years, and now talks about it around the family table. Then the man, the spouse can approach us because he sets up a company, and then we have the whole enterprise behind that particular relationship that was created to start with. So to start with, it was difficult to make them understand that it was a whole scheme, because the small and medium enterprise must be stabilized across a particular number of time, across a particular period of time. And also, we have some elements that we make available to women entrepreneurs, and we also have some other strong demand by other small and medium enterprises, not necessarily led by women, and they ask us and request us for some training courses. So, for example, we have the Business Edge module, and we have set this up and opened that up to other small and medium enterprises that are not solely women-led small and medium enterprises. The other difficulties are rather to do with the ecosystem, in fact, which is where the difficulties are felt more often. And this has an impact sometimes on the evolution of the enterprises themselves. I have a question for you once again. It comes from our audience. And specifically, have you set up some conditions in order to facilitate in terms of guarantees, and also regarding the land titles to be presented? Yes, we have some specific products, some specific credit products that were set up on which we base ourselves for savings. So we have set up the interpreter apologies for the frozen screen from the speaker currently. We cannot hear you clearly. The line is not very good, so I might have to interrupt you for a minute, and I will now go to Mr. Cissé once again and ask you. Joël? Yes? The line was not very good. You had a frozen screen. I'm absolutely sorry. I will now go to Mr. Cissé at the moment because your line had become unstable and we did not hear you for a little while. So, Mr. Cissé, I have noted quite clearly that you rely on some existing groups in order to set up the product. I was wondering if you are the ones approaching these groups. How is this taking place? Can you tell us? And once again, I know that we tend to present absolutely everything as being a great success, but I think it's really interesting for our audience also to know where did you struggle, where did you maybe stumble, What did you learn by setting up these products? Yes, many thanks, Isabel. So, the approach is both ways normally, but generally we are the ones going in the neighborhoods, in the villages. How does that take place? Concretely, our sales staff goes to see the head of the village or the head of the neighborhood in order to see the groups that are already in place. Normally, the head of the village or the head of the neighborhood knows which groups are already in existence, and this leads us to some orientations in order to be able to meet some members. And then afterwards, we're talking about some groups that sometimes have particular habits. For example, they meet on Sundays sometimes, or sometimes they meet generally on a particular day of the week or a particular day of the month, sometimes with some public meetings. So then when we meet some group members who invite us to these group meetings, we have then the occasion to be able to offer our solutions and services. Once we have pricked their interest, we'll meet them on another occasion within the training that I mentioned earlier on. So to start with, when we start having some clients in a particular neighborhood or in a particular village, we can then naturally have some volunteers or some spontaneous requests coming our way. But to start with, we go towards people in the villages or in the neighborhood. So as for the difficulties we've encountered, we have encountered quite a few, and I will come back once again on what you stated to start with, where we have a man-based society with some difficulties for women who don't have it as easily as men, and therefore sometimes there are some difficulties in terms of cost, and some other difficulties is that we are facing a category of a client who does not have as much knowledge on banking services and products, and therefore their experience is sometimes very minimal, and therefore we need to help them to understand and to trust the financial products and services. It's not always easy. It takes time, and as I stated earlier on, these are some activities that can be very fragile, and if a woman, for example, falls ill for a few days, then the activity might not take place and be lost for these few days. So these are the kind of activities that we encounter when we approach these particular groups. And I think that this must have been impacted also by the health crisis, probably, because, of course, if we're talking about a quite different segment from what Madame Caballo was talking to us maybe earlier on.
Me tourner vers David. David, I think you talked to us about how you put in place this product. Can you tell us about maybe some of the partnerships that you used to build this full package of services for women or other enterprises employing women?
Okay. Thank you very much. You're right. We had to embark on various levels of partnerships to support the product. And we continue to explore partnerships to improve the product. One of the key partnerships we are involved in under Elevate is with development finance institutions that are focused on gender finance. Well, in no particular order. So we work with agencies like Proparco under AFD, AFDB, EIB yourselves, AGF. We have quite a large number of partners that are providing technical assistance and also, some risk-sharing facilities. I mean, that is not supposed to be for consumption because, in Africa, when clients realize that you have risk-sharing, then they deliberately don't want to pay. But yes, we have some of these partnerships in place to support the program. In addition, on the non-financial side, like I said, we have partnerships with various universities and educational institutions in Africa under EcoBank MSME Academy, and that has a faculty that has a program for various levels of engagement with women. We have a certification program that is done for CEOs of larger SMEs, all the way to interventions that are targeted towards more of the smallholder farmer. So we have partnerships with these institutions. We also have local and international NGOs working together with us. So in a lot of our countries, we partner with the local NGOs who are aligned with our Elevate, strategy and program. I can give you examples. For example, in Ghana, we've partnered with MasterCard Foundation under the Young Africa Works program. And we are looking at, disbursing a little under $10 million for women and the youth in Ghana at reduced lending rates because MasterCard is providing the financing. In Nigeria, for example, we've partnered with IFC and the Nigerian Exchange Limited under the Nigeria to Equal Gender program. And it's aimed at reducing gender gaps across employment and entrepreneurship in the private sector in Nigeria. We've also partnered with local agriculture extension officers in many of our markets. So as we provide financing to women groups that are involved in farming, we partner with the government agency that provides, technical assistance, provides inputs. So we finance we finance the inputs provider to give you the input directly. If you need tilling of land, we also finance the company that does the tilling, and they'll do it directly for you. And then we have monitoring officers that monitor and report on the progress with regards to your farm activities. Also, a key partnership is, partnering insurance company on two levels. So on one level, we partner insurance companies to give general life insurance and some sort of security for our women. But we also partner them when it comes to agric, because, agric in Africa is heavily reliant on rainfall and crop yields can be not as expected. And so we've partnered with some of our insurance companies to provide, insurance against yield losses. So in summary, these are some of the partnerships we have currently. And we are always exploring new ways to make the product more suitable for the woman beneficiary. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Et je pense qu'à travers ces différentes interventions,
I think that going through is not simply putting in place a financial product, but it's also a question of put a model, but also the tools and systems which allow women to access not only finances and knowledge, but in order to be able to develop their businesses and have choices and make economic choices which are appropriate for them. I think these three presentations have given us a very good global vision of what is possible and the objectives which we can pursue, or the aims we can pursue. There's a question I received. So what do we have in the way of the domain for the promotion of women in the context which we're talking about, the cooperation with banks, with institutions, and eco-finance? This is a partnership which needs needs analysis so that we have mechanisms or risk sharing, which allows each microfinancing project to make an offer which is specific for women. And this is to be complemented with the offer of technical assistance, technical help. And the program we're talking today. We also have a specific program which is called African Women Rising. And in certain countries, selected with certain partners, talking about occupy themselves with technical assistance to help our partners to put in place this type of service for women. So I think this is time to wrap up. I'm going to thank our three speakers. Thank you very much for having gone into such good detail in the presentation of what you're offering. I think it's interesting for all of our public, all the people watching. May I remind you that there is a poll, or let's say questions which were asked on our digital tool. So if you'd like, please, to answer to the various questions which were asked, this will help us later on. This will be helpful for the final session, which will allow us to go back to the ideas shared during our program today and talk about them. Thank you again, all. And so therefore, I'm going to go back to our program. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for having participated in this discussion of the financing of women on gender. So Joël Caballot, Head of Women's Entrepreneurial Segment at World Bank RDC, Amadou Cissé, the Director General CEO of World Bank, and David Assidou, the Risk Manager for Ecobank. So thank you, Isabelle, for having led this discussion, which has been so interesting on women, the financing of women's projects. Okay. As you said, Isabelle told us we have a poll which cover the topics from today. So this is really for our wrap-up session later on. So if you've got questions for the two sessions which had so green finance and women's financing, please send in your questions so we can include your questions in the wrap-up. And we would also like to be able to present the results of our discussions today to a greater public, a wider public, so that we could have a sort of barometer, take the temperature on what has been said since we set up this morning. So I think we're going to have to skip across to the next panel because time presses. Time is passing. So the next panel is talking about digitizing the financial services, the state of affairs in West and Central Africa. So in 5 minutes' time, we're going to 5:05 or 6:05, depending on where you are. So we're going to talk about this digital numerization, digitalization. Thank you. See you soon.